Hi guys, it's Dutchess. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dutchess. This is my channel, Dutchess Divinity, and we do lots of stuff here, but tonight I am going to be talking about a very disturbing nightmare that I had last night that was not just a nightmare. Yeah, I'll say a prayer, set my intentions. I've already like put protection around my house and around the land. Hey Romina, Dutch, I was just thinking about you. Girl, you must have heard me crying because it's been a really rough day. I had a very, very negative demonic encounter last night and it was really bad. So we're gonna get into it and we're going to break it down, and yeah, but let me turn off the chat so I don't get distracted. Hi Lizzie, hi Maria, I'm glad you guys are here. Yeah, I'm gonna say a prayer and set our intentions. Thank you for the likes, it helps people get notified of the live. Hey baby Pico, dude, I had 3 dreams this morning about violence and people trying to unalive me. Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about my experience on live, because I had a feeling that I might not be the only one having this experience. Hey Faith, I have been having dreams like that too. See? Okay, I'm glad I came on. I definitely want to talk about this. My dreams have been so crazy. Yeah, same. Hey Amy, I feel it as well. Okay, let me turn off the chat so I don't get distracted, and then we're gonna get right into this. Okay, make sure to shield yourself, guys. I've shielded myself and the live in my house. I have little Sunday on my lap. She's on my lap supporting me. But okay, we're gonna get right into this. And please remember to like so that more people get notified. All right. Benevolent guides, guardians, ancestors, angels, star family, higher self, Yeshua, Baal, Raya, Maya, Kornika, and God Source. I humbly come to you today and I just ask please that you move through my words. I've already set up a shielding and a protection around my home, around myself, my cats, and this live. I ask that you also set up shields and protections around all those encountering this live, and that you aid me in sharing this message in the highest frequency so that I can warn people of what I experienced and just share this experience with everyone in a way that's beneficial to all, and to shine light on the atrocities that are being committed, not just in the physical realm, but also in the astral realms. And I pray all of this with the purest of hearts and the best of intentions, and I ask please that, you know, this only ever be for the highest and greatest good of the light and of Christ consciousness, and that this aid me in healing and moving through this issue, and that it also aid those going through the same issue in not only coming to terms with it, but understanding how to move through it as well. I pray all of this with the purest of hearts and the best of intentions, only ever for the highest and greatest good of myself, those here now and later, the highest and greatest good of humanity, and the highest and greatest good of this universe. Amol Rashi Namaste, but the power of 3 Samote B always works, always a blessing. It's a little dark, huh? Let's see if I can... Oh, no, that's a little bright. It's a little too bright for me right now. I've been in bed literally all day. Okay, it's fine. It's gonna be dark, whatever. Okay, guys, brace yourself. I'm only gonna give this, like, first trigger warning, and that's it. But this is, like, really disturbing. Like, I literally woke up and just immediately started bawling and, like, reached out to Lizzie, Maria, and Teresa because, you know, they are my go-to helpers with this kind of thing, and I was just like blubbering, like bawling my eyes out. Every time I thought about it or talked about it, I would cry. So I'm really gonna try not to get too emotional, but if it happens, it happens. It was so disturbing and just so not just a dream. I'm just hearing that song, More Than Just a Dream. Like, it was torture. It was torture on my soul, and I saw many other souls being tortured as well. I can see it all clear as day in my mind, and this is the kind of crap that, like, makes people go full Jesus, because it was just so disturbing. But anyway, we're gonna get into it. So, what I remember is I was in this kind of like old-timey room, not that old-timey, kind of like 90s, and I was on this like 90s looking couch, and it was almost in like a sunroom, and I wasn't me. Like, I was me, but like my human version of me looked different, and I was watching this old TV. It was like one of those square big back TVs, but it was kind of small, and I was watching it like just like a regular show, and then all of a sudden the show changed, and it was like this woman who the best way I can describe that she looked was like kind of like Angelina Jolie when she was young, so that same like face shape and that like dark hair, but it was like pulled back really, really tight, and she was like this, you know, like super demonic, like head down and like eyes up, like just looking like very much like the fucking Ring, right, with the you will die in 7 days and shit. But like that, and everything around her was like dark blue, and her shirt was like, she was wearing like a black tank top, and she was like hypnotizing me, and she was saying like, let us in, which the first thing you learn about demons is that you have to invite them in. And so I was getting like so dizzy, and then like the screen was like zooming in and out, and I was like getting sucked into the TV screen, and like everything was starting to go away. And then before I knew it, I was like in the room with her, and it was just like a black and blue room, and she was just like at this desk, and her eyes, and there was nothing but the black and blue room and her at a desk, and her eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she like breathed in as soon as I came in the room. And then the next thing I knew, oh my God, I was in this like really big shower, and there was all these people in it. There was 2 women and all these men, and the women were drugged, like very clearly drugged, and also like hypnotized by this lady. So it was like they were drugged and they were super out of it because of like mind control, right? So they were just, it was so horrible. I was like experiencing it really up close, and I was like on the tiles, and I was like on the ground, and it was like all the men were standing and the women were like on the ground, and they were just like running through these women, like sex trafficking them, and they clearly couldn't consent. Like, they were like really messed up, and the whole time there was like strobe lights going, so it was like really, really disorienting, and I was just like trying to cover myself. Like, I was naked, and I was just like curled up in a ball, like trying to cover myself, and there was like this loud music blaring, so it was like really disorienting for the ears and the eyes, and I was just like on the ground with these messed up women, and I just kept trying to scream no, no, but nothing was coming out of my mouth, but I just didn't stop screaming until finally like the word no came out, and then I got sucked back into the room, and now there was a man at the desk, and he had similarly slicked back hair, but his hair was like white blonde, and he was looking at me all demonic, and then he like lifted his chin like he was like better than me. And first he looked like literally one of my guides, like one of my Pleiadian guides that was me in a past life. And I was so confused, And he just started talking and was like, we bought you, like, you owe us making this money. You're not gonna, like, not get around it. Let us in, say yes, say yes. And then I kept saying, no, no, no. And it was finally starting to, like, make noise. And then I ended up back on the couch. And then he was in the TV still, and he was like, let us in, let us in. And his eyes were rolling back, and I could feel that there were like two spirits behind me, and I couldn't see them. And there were all these people in the house that were like in the house, the original house, that were like, now all these people were coming through and like trafficking people through the house. And I looked at the spirits because I couldn't see them with my eye, so I looked like with my third eye, and I could see that they were like fish people. And I was like, you guys are sirens, aren't you? You're like bad sirens, because think about it. Like, I know I have siren frequency, but I'm not a bad person. But when you think about, like, the old tales, like, the sirens would bring the sailors to their death, and they would hypnotize them until they ran into the rocks, and they would pretend to be beautiful, but they were actually really, like, ugly and evil. And so I could, like, feel the two fish people, a man and a woman, behind me, and I was like, you guys are sirens, you're fish people. And then they got really mad that I, like, figured out who they were, and then I got sucked back in the TV again. And now sitting at the desk was this YouTuber that I really like. His name is Morg, and he talks about how, like, all different things, like, he debunks a bunch of spiritual stuff, and he had this great video about how he personally believes that, like, the God of the Bible is not the all-loving, like, unconditionally loving, all-knowing source from which we all come. He talked about how it was like an opportunistic demigod, which is exactly what I believe. So it was like really cool to find someone like with past religious experience, because I don't have a lot of religious experience, but he grew up in a certain church, so he was like breaking down all this stuff because he like knows the Bible. I don't. So like it was like a really cool thing to find his video, and I enjoy a lot of his work. And I don't agree with everything, but hey, you don't have to freaking agree with people just to enjoy some of the points that they make, right? So then it was him at the table, and he has like really white hair too, like white blonde, and it was slicked back again. So this thing kept changing forms, and basically it was mimicking. So there are these certain kind of demons that are called mimics, where they will take on the form of people in your life. So like some people will be like at home, and they'll like hear their mom call for them, and then they'll like go to see their mom, and their mom's just not home, and then it's their mom's like at work or something. That's because something demonic is mimicking something that you know. So this siren. And it also reminded me, I know it's just a TV show, but it reminded me how in, like, Supernatural, when they come across this siren, it's, like, really ugly and disgusting and evil, but it, like, takes on the form of a human, and it can shapeshift into, like, whatever that person is looking for. So, like, for some of the men in the show, they were looking for, like, a female partner, so it was shape-shifting into a beautiful woman. But then with, like, Dean, he felt like he was losing his brother, so it, like, shape-shifted into this, like, brotherly version of, like, what he felt like he was losing. So this demon was, like, mimicking my past life self, that is one of my main guides in this life. And it was mimicking this YouTuber now that literally has the same beliefs I do about the false god and about, like, evil. And so he was saying, like, you have to let us in. You have to let us in. And I kept saying, no, no, no. And then I ended up in the freaking shower again. And I was literally, not to be graphic, but I was, like, covering my literal holes, because, like, I did not want to be RAPED, because that's what they were doing to these girls. And he kept trying to hypnotize me, and I kept, like, feeling, like, my eyes rolling back, and, like, I kept, like, losing control over my body, and I had to keep, like, snapping myself back. And then I was in the shower again, and I'm, like, covering myself, and I'm just screaming, like, no, no, and nothing's coming out. And then eventually the words come out again, and then the next thing I know, snap my fingers, I'm in this room where everything is pink, and this is gonna sound fucking stupid, but Jeffree Star was playing in the background, and I recently found these pictures of him with all these really young actors and actresses and musicians. So like Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber. What do all those people have in common? They all went freaking crazy at one point, right? Like they all freaking lost their mind from being child stars. But like him with so many like young kids. And I need to be really careful what I say, but it just gave me an unsettling feeling. And, you know, he's talked about before how he's escaped the ILLUMANATI, right? So it just gave me this, like, finding those pictures gave me this really unsettling feeling. So it could have just been my subconscious, like, doing that, or it could have been something more. But anyway, for Lent, I gave up, like, cakes and like, sweets and things like that. And mind you guys, I literally dream about eating cake. Like, I have so many dreams about eating, like, the most delicious, beautiful cakes, and I'll just sit there for, like, 10 minutes eating cake in my dream because I'm gluten-free, and the gluten-free shit just doesn't hit the same way a glutinous cake does, so I literally dream of it. But, so, it was, like, pink everywhere. Like, the entire room was pink, and if you know anything about beta sex kitten programming with MK, pink is one of, like, the symbols that they use, right? So like how we saw Doja went through her pink hair phase. Britney went through her pink hair wig phase when she was like losing her freaking mind, right? So everything in this room was pink, and there was this big, beautiful looking piece of pink cake on this pink table. And then in the background, I could see there was another freaking RAPE like horde, just like a horde of people. And, like, women were being RAPED, and they were, like, also drugged and hypnotized and stuff. And then, like, Jeffree Star was just, like, low, like, playing low in the background. And then they were like, come on, eat the cake. And I was like, no, I gave that up for Lent. And then I had this really strong feeling like the cake was drugged. Like, I just had that, because, like, all the girls that I was seeing being, you know, trafficked, they were drugged. And so I was like, no. And like at first it wasn't coming out, right? And then eventually I like slammed my hands on the table and I was like, no. And then boom, now I'm on the street and I'm walking down this really sketchy looking street. And there's like a chain link fence, and the guy from earlier is in the form of Morg, that YouTuber, right? And he's wearing a black cloak like we see with like these rituals and stuff. And he's following me with a bunch of other dudes in black cloaks. And I'm, like, speed walking down the street. So I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, I'm at least out of, like, the shower. I'm out of the creepy party. Like, I can get somewhere with this. And he's saying, denounce your God. Denounce your God. God can't hear your cries here. He can't save you. And that is when it clicked. When he said, denounce your God, I realized, holy shit, I need to call Jesus. Because quite frankly, Jesus, I think, is like the people who are like, Jesus is King of Kings. It's because when you're in places with no God, when they're literally trying to traffic your soul in places, the Native Americans talk about this, how there are places that are so dark and so evil that they take your soul to, that even God and the angels can't hear your cries. So like the natives have that, like, in their lineages, which is why they're always trying to frickin' take out the natives and, like, do everything they can to destroy the indigenous and the natives. Because they have the answers, a lot of them, right? So, the reason I feel that it's, like, he's King of Kings, whatever, is because, like, he can hear you when you cry out in those places. Like, he can hear you. His name has power, right? So then I just start saying, no, and at first it's not coming out, and then I'm saying, I do not consent, and I said, I choose Jesus, and as I'm, like, yelling this, all of a sudden, blackness starts going over him, so he's starting to shapeshift, and he's starting to, like, lose the form that he had taken, and then the people in the cloaks are getting really mad, but they're almost, like, glitching, and, like, falling further behind, like, super creepy, and then for some reason, I had the most beautiful voice, I'm getting chills, and I just started singing the best song ever, which I can't fucking remember, but I was singing the badass song, and I was like, I choose Jesus because Jesus is always there for me. Jesus loves me. like Jesus is gonna save me, and it was just like such a good song, and I had like the voice of an angel. And then I'm like coming up on a crossroads, and as I'm about to come to the cross, and I can see there's like an ocean in the background, and I can see a bunch of like cloaked people coming like from the ocean, but and I'm like, oh shit, because like as I'm coming to the crossroads, there's all these like really sketchy looking like hoodlum like people, and they all have weapons, like basically like the Purge. Like if you were out on the night of the Purge and you run into those people you don't freaking want to run into, that's who was like crossing into the crosswalk. But the really sad thing is they had kids with them, and so I just kept singing that freaking song like from the top of my lungs every time they were like, denounce your God can't hear you, your God won't save you. Like every time they were saying that, I was just saying, I choose Jesus, Jesus loves me. And as I was saying that, the people with the weapons, they were like going to like hit me, and they couldn't. It was like there was like this force field around me. And then the kids were like, what is she talking about? And then the adults were like, don't listen to her. And I felt like they were like trafficked kids. It was really sad. And then I took a chance because the crossroads spirits, they said, dive. And so I literally took a chance because I saw the ground in the crossroads. It kind of turned into a wave of the ocean. And I just kept thinking, like, if I can get to the ocean, I can get out of here. And so the crossroads, the pavement, like, went up in, like, a wave. And they said, take a chance. And I said, I choose Jesus. And I dove, like, fucking swan dived into the pavement. And it turned into the ocean, and then when I came up from the ocean, or from the crossroad, I was in the ocean, and then in the ocean was the original lady, and she was, like, dragging the two original slaves that she had in the beginning, and they were super drugged up and, like, on the verge of, like, passing out, and she was, like, dragging them through the water, and I was, like, so scared she was gonna grab me, but she couldn't touch me because I just kept yelling, I choose Jesus, I choose Christ consciousness, I choose Christ. And then I like went underwater and I popped back up and I was still there, and then I heard in my head that I needed to fully submerge myself. So I freaking swan dived. You know, like when you're a kid and you do like the dolphin dive where you go up and then you like bring your feet up and you go fully like down. I did that underwater and fully submerged myself, went in the shape of a cross. I literally flipped, like all of a sudden the ocean flipped upside down. So I was in a right side cross and I flipped mirror image. It was also vivid and disturbing. I flipped mirror image, and then, boom, I land back on the original couch, and I'm covered in water from the ocean. And so I felt like, because, like, a lot of the crossroads spirits I work with are Orisha, and, like, in voodoo, everything is through the mirror image. So I felt like that was, like, what was happening, how they took it from, like, an upside-down cross to a right-side cross and put me through the mirror. And I went through the black mirror. I went through the TV that is a black mirror, right? Whew. And then I felt chills, and then I felt like I went in the ocean because Yemaya is like one of my main guides and protectors, and also Poseidon has been helping me recently as well. And so I just got covered in chills, like from head to toe. And then I was still not out of it. So now I'm like covered in ocean water, and I go to see whose house I'm in. And I'm in this other YouTuber that I like, that I was just talking about, hopefully, you know, doing some kind of collab with her. Her name is Brooke. She has a channel, Arcanum LA. Her vibe is so good. She's so nice. She's so, like, chill. And I always enjoy her content. And I go in the kitchen, and she's, like, doing stuff. And I was like, hey, like, can I talk to you for a minute? And she was calling me Gracie for some reason. And she was like, no, like, what's wrong with you? I'm too good to talk to people like you, like, being so rude and so mean. And I was like, listen, honey. I literally said that. I never call anybody honey. I said, listen, honey, you have no idea what I've just been through. And you also have no idea how many orders I've already placed with you. So you're going to listen to me. I've placed enough orders for you to freaking listen to me. And she's like, well, I'm packaging orders. You have 30 seconds. And then she goes and she folds her arms like this. And while I'm telling the story, she's literally going, 1, 2, 3, like, talking over me, and I just start bawling about how I almost was just trafficked and how I saw people being trafficked in the house. And then she starts glitching, which I think this was the same thing, just like mimicking her, how I was saying these demonic entities, they like mimic. And she starts glitching, and she glitches on 7, and she's like 7, 7, 7, 7, and I'm just like in this spiral of her glitching on 7. And we just started reading for the Lent portal, the Sophia code, and the Sophia dragon tribe is associated with the number 7. And so then in the middle of her glitch, all of a sudden I wake up and I'm like, and I look out my window, and my landlord is parked outside my window throwing away a bunch of stuff. And I sit up and I go to get my phone to call my mom, and I'm dialing my phone, and the phone just melts. And then I'm back in bed and I realize, holy shit, I never woke up. I did that, I kid you not, like 20 times. They had me in a purgatory loop where I kept freaking falling asleep, getting up, going to call my mom, and then if my mom did pick up, she'd tell me, oh, we all hate you, like the family hates you, you're worthless. Like one time it was my aunt who was like there supporting me when Cornica passed away, and she was like, you're worthless, we're better off without you. And every time I woke up, my landlord was like taking stuff out of my house and throwing it in the dumpster and being like, we hate you, you can't live here anymore. And like I said, I swear to God, I fucking fell asleep and woke up like 20 times in this loop, and I was like crying, thinking I was never gonna wake up again. And all the tapestries on my wall were turning evil. Like I have this one of a witch holding a cat, and she's like got blue hair, because you know I used to have blue hair, so I would think, oh, that's me and Cornica, and I would wake up and it would look so evil, like it was just like this demonic like skeleton face, and all my art was like portals for the evil, like all the art on my walls that brings me positive energy, it was like shifted to evil. And so I just fucking sat up in that loop like 20 times, and I'm like, am I ever gonna get out of here? And then I wake up to the birds chirping and my alarm going off finally, and I just sat up in bed. I started bawling my eyes out, and I had therapy, and I had to like really quickly get ready and like get the cats ready, and it was so horrifying. And then my day mirrored the dream, because I went to call my mom and she didn't pick up because she was in a meeting, and then she had sent me kind of a rude text that morning, like she was kind of mean, and I went to call, and when she picked up, because I was kind of rude the night before, but anyway, it just sucked. And then when she picked up and heard me crying, she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and was nice, obviously. And then my landlord, my furnace broke. Like, I live in Connecticut, your furnace just can't be breaking. But joke's on them, it was like 60 degrees almost today, so I felt like that was just more of the spiritual attack. Like, in all the years, I've been living here for 7 years, my furnace has never broken, ever. And so, and one of my cats caught my cold that I had, and the only thing the vet said was, just make sure your house doesn't get too cold. So my furnace breaks, and then my landlord literally parks outside my bedroom window, because that's over by the dumpster, which he never does. And he's like, hey, just so you know, like, the furnace is broken, someone's coming to fix it. So like my day was mirroring my nightmare. And this is also stupid, but I'm pretty sure the socks I wore yesterday were like clean and in my sock drawer. Because I remember wearing those specific socks, and then now suddenly they're clean again. Like, the whole thing was like a big glitch, and it was a freaking horror story. And I'm going to tell you what happened the day before that made these things get pissed off at me. So I had to run some errands, and I was driving through my local city, which has like a really dark frequency. There's just like a lot of bad energy there. There's like a lot of crime, a lot of drugs. It's very subsidized. It's just not really a place you want to spend too much time in, because it's very dangerous. And so I was driving through the city, and I realized that there was like a horde of reptilians or demons, or like whatever you want to call them. There was like 700 of them, and then they had like a leader, and he looked like such a douche. He was like on a throne, and he had like one of those scepters and like a freaking crown. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so it's Ash Wednesday, it's Lent, they opened up some kind of dark portal, and now they're like rampant in the city, because this is already a really dark frequency in the city. So I just killed them all. I just took them all out. I've been doing this thing where I basically do like a light-bodied atom bomb, and I just freaking explode them and turn them to dust. But first I got a little fancy with it, and I cut the leader's head off, and then I cut him in half like in the shape of a cross. So I'm like, if you're gonna freaking be blasphemous on Ash Wednesday, I'm gonna freaking, you know, make a show of it. So then I leave, I go run my errands on the other side of the city, and then I have to come back through the city, and I realize that there's now 1,700 reptilians, demons, whatever you want to call them, no leader, because I took out the leader, but now there's all, like, more, like, pretty much twice what was more than twice what they had sent. And so I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? No. So I do it again, and I kill them all. And I'm like, you cannot do this. And then, I swear to God, guys, I had like 5 different freaking cars try to run me off the road. And all I can think about since I watched Matrix Resurrections is that is a biography. Like, that movie is real. That movie, like, it's the new Matrix. If you watch it, it freaking triggers the heck out of you because it's so real. It talks about, like, how, like, NPC, like, people who are just mindless, right? And they're just, like, a part of the Matrix. They can just make them agents, which is from the original Matrix too, but it's a little different the way they portray it, like, in the 2020s, right? Because, like, it was different in the 90s. Like, we have different sources, like they keep telling Neo that he's like crazy and that he had a mental breakdown because he ends up back in the Matrix. That movie also blatantly talks about how they keep forcefully reincarnating twins into really painful lifetimes, and it blatantly talks about how they keep them just far enough apart that it causes them torture and separation and pain, but close enough that they can use them as like batteries, basically, because we all know the Matrix, they're like in those pods like batteries. And the guy, the creator, gives this whole spiel about how he keeps I'm actually going to post it, I just didn't because YouTube was giving me a bit of a hard time, but I recorded it. The audio is crap, I wonder why, but he gives this whole speech about how, you know, he keeps the humans miserable because the productivity rate is higher and they're better batteries when they're miserable, and that he keeps humans feeling just scared, in a state of fear, so that you're just miserable enough to never have what you want, and so you are always desiring for something while fearing that you're not going to reach, while fearing that you're going to lose what you already have. And he just gave the most disturbing speech that literally is it's literally just a manifesto of the modern times with imagery from the modern times. And so it was like really just like mind-blowing. So when all of a sudden this big freaking 18-wheeler is trying to merge on me in a place you can't freaking merge, and I'm like hitting on my horn. I mean, I'm in a tiny car. I have a small car, guys. And then this guy was, like, driving super recklessly and was, like, swerving through the lanes, and I, like, very slowly turn on my blinker and go to merge, and he's like, "Nyeh!" like, fucking trying to swerve me off the road, and that happened, like, I swear to God, like, 5 times, and I was like, dude, they're pissed off that I just killed all those reptilians, demons, whatever you want to call them. They're pissed off because imagine this. Imagine you open this big dark portal and you're like sitting on your throne like, haha, here I am. I'm going to bring misery. And then this little small 5'2", 32-year-old girl comes through and is like, oh, hell no, and just freaking kills you and all of your freaking soldiers. And then you send more because you're pissed off. You send more than double, and then she just comes through and freaking kills them all again. Like, so then they're trying to run me off the road, and they're trying to freaking kill me in a car accident, which is their fucking go-to. And you literally see it in the Matrix, you see it in the second Matrix, and you see it in this newer Matrix, where it's like they just keep taking over people in the vehicles and trying to, like, kill them, like, while, you know, Trinity's on her motorcycle, or while Neo and Trinity are trying to escape together. Like, if you're just an NPC, if you're just an empty-brained NPC that is just addicted to your phone and you have no thoughts of your own, you're just freaking MK'd to shit, then yeah, you just become like an open, and then on top of it, whatever your vices are, whether you have addictions or, you know, right, like alcohol, drugs, corn, stuff like that, it just makes you this open vessel and a matching frequency to demonic energies, or the reptilians, or what the agents, whatever you want to call them, they all have different names. It's all the same thing. It makes you an agent of darkness when you have that matching frequency. So yeah, so I almost got ran off the road like 5 times, and I was like, that was really demonic. And then I was like, I'm being dramatic. And then I went to my Lent Portal Ascended Masterclass, and in this class, I'm literally talking about the Divine Feminine Ascended Masters, the Divine Feminine, and other ones from like other cultures. Like, yes, we've been talking about Yeshua and Jesus, but we've been talking about a lot of other ones too. And we had our first class for Ash Wednesday, and I do this thing called Bible scrying. And so I just opened up a page willy-nilly, and I freaking opened up to Isaiah 13 and 14, and it was all the false god being like, I'm mad at you. You need to give me praise. And then Isaiah 14 was all like, I'm going to kill your children in front of you. I will turn your infants to pieces, about the pagans or whatever. And he was like, I'm going to burn your houses down and put ostriches in it. Like all this weird fucking shit. And so I couldn't help it, because it was literally proving my point that I personally believe that there is one source frequency of unconditional love that I see almost as like a white cosmic yoni, and then I see Yeshua right under it, like the light right below it. And I think that I've talked about this in my Ancient Kemetic reading, I believe it was group 3, I talk about how I believe that there was some kind of opportunistic demigod or fallen angel or Nephilim or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like I said, these things have many names, it's all the same frequency. And it created the Garden of Eden, so it wanted to feel like it was in charge of something. And then it created Adam and Lilith was like, fuck this, and left. So then he created Adam and Eve. And then the serpent came in. The serpent represents knowledge. Like, who's really the bad guy here? And then the serpent gives Eve the knowledge, like, hey, this guy is saying he's like the one true God, but like, there's actually stuff outside of the Garden of Eden. This is not the one true God, right? And as I was speaking out, bring it back to the beginning, Morg, that YouTuber that they were trying to tarnish through mimicking him, did a whole like breakdown of this, because like I said, he's far more versed in the Bible than I am. This is just a download I got, because I never felt like the unconditionally loving God would be like, Teehee, bring your firstborn up to a mountain and murder him. And then the guy brings the firstborn to the mountain, and then he says, oopsie, never mind, I just wanted to see if you'd do it. Ah ha ha ha, you don't actually have to kill your firstborn. Like, what the hell? That's not the unconditionally loving God that I connect to. I don't want to worship that thing. Fuck that guy. So, anyway, so then it's like they gain knowledge, right? And then it's also just like feeds the freaking patriarchy, because then those creepy, weird churches can be like, oh, yep, we hate women. Women are the root of all evil because, you know, Eve and original sin. You know, we just hate women. Let's have men's supremacy, you know? Like, and the church is incredibly patriarchal with a little bit of a perverted twist, right? When we think about the Catholic Church and what they were doing to the freaking young boys. So, and I'm sure there were some young girls thrown in there too. But anyway, and well, I actually literally learned that they would the church would take in orphans off the street, and then nobody would know that they were like missing, and then that's when they would like abuse them, because there was nobody who was coming to look for them. And so what they would do, trigger warning, this is really dark, what they would do is they'd have these really disgusting ceremonies where they would sodomize the young boys, and they would make them see the devil, and they would be the devil through like the priests, right? The only ones who talk to God. That's sketchy as fuck anyway. You're telling me you're the only guy who talks to God and you're doing this. I don't think what you're talking to is God. I think what you're talking to is the fucking devil. But anyway, they would embody the devil, sodomize these young boys, and then if they screamed out like that they needed to stop, then it was like they couldn't resist the devil. So if they didn't scream out that to stop when they're being brutalized by these adult men, these demonic adult men, then, oh, they've been saved. Oh, now you can be a part of the church because Jesus. And then if, like I said, you cried out, oh, you were overtaken by the devil, you couldn't resist the devil, so now they keep putting you through the rituals until they break you, and you finally, like, either die, because that's what happens when you do that enough to a kid and you're an adult, or you finally, they trauma-based mind control you into becoming part of the church. So anyway, in my master class, I freaking turned to Isaiah 13:14, and he's talking all, I'm going to kill your children in front of you. I have no mercy on your children. I am going to destroy your houses. You're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. And I was like making fun of it. I was reading it like a supervillain because it was all just so ridiculous. And then I was also sharing other knowledge about like other religions and other spirituality and other ascended masters that kind of counteract this source, like this demigod being the source. And so apparently that, and I can see why, me killing all those demonic entities and then going and literally mocking the false god and then pointing out the flaws of the false god pissed off some sirens of the false god. So it was 2 sirens, a male and a female, like I said. And basically the last time I remember having a nightmare that was actually them attempting to traffic my soul was the first time I was in the psych ward, when I was in my domestic abuse relationship and I was in a very bad mental state. I had to go to the psych ward a couple times, and I had a dream like that where it was like not just a dream, it was soul trafficking. And I was in there with 2 friends who were also very psychic, but none of us had stepped into our psychic powers at that point or understood our psychic powers. And so all 3 of us got attacked the same night, and we all had super demonic soul trafficking dreams. And that was the last time that happened to me. And I just took out that notebook that I literally was like scribbling in the whole time I was in the psych ward that time. And the dream is like written in that notebook. And I didn't read it yet. I was just like leafing through it because it was literally this exact time of year that I went inpatient. It was like March 5th. So literally yesterday in 2015 or 2016. I can't remember what year, but so these opportunistic sirens freaking came through the notebook, through the dream remembrance as a portal, and freaking trafficked me. And all night I was waking up because my arms and my hands were like numb, and they were throbbing, and they were going numb and like in pain and stuff, and I couldn't sleep because every time I fall asleep I'd wake up to the pain. And usually, you know, when you like sleep on your hand or something, you just shake it out and it goes back to normal. Well, that wasn't happening. Well, when I checked in with my guides, one of my guides was saying that they were literally torturing me for hours before that, just like plucking my wings, like my angel wings, which is why it was like going through on my arms. And then I became loose. I had like blocked it out, and then I became lucid with the entire dream I just told you. Because I needed to be, because they were trying to get me to consent to being sex trafficked in the astrals, and they were doing it to a bunch of other people. It was like everything I already said. It was very disturbing. And so I think the point of it all was to make me not trust myself, right, and my guides, because it felt like I was forsaken, and they kept trying to tell me, denounce your God, and like fall into their hellscape. It was to intimidate me. And also, I've had multiple clients tell me that they've had dreams where demonic creatures mimic me, and I do like terrible stuff to them in the dreams, and then they hate me and they think that I'm like doing like spell work on them or something, when in reality it was just some creature that was like trying to get them to stop working with me so that they don't reach their full potential, right? Or because they don't like what I'm teaching. And I've also had people have dreams where like some fake love and light thing that's like shapeshifted into a love and light thing, but it's actually a demonic thing, will tell them like, don't work with Dutchess is evil. Like, I have had longtime clients tell me that, and then they come to me and they're like, hey, like, I had this really scary dream, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. Like, I hear this happens with Elizabeth April as well, because they don't like the information that she's sharing. Like, I feel like it happens with every freaking spiritualist out here, because they're just trying to suppress universal truth and knowledge, and they're trying to suppress people's ability to fend for themselves and to find their sovereignty and freedom in the physical and in the astral realm. So yeah, my spirits were like really pissed off, but like I said, shout out to Jesus, Yeshua, that got me out of there. Shout out to the Crossroads spirits. Shout out to Yemaya and Poseidon for getting me out through the ocean. And I'm still gonna watch those YouTubers that they tried to scare me out of watching and liking. And basically when I checked in with the spirits, they were like really pissed off, and they were having a meeting, and they were basically like, that never should have happened. We should have been better prepared, because they basically slipped through the cracks through the portal through that notebook, which makes sense to me that that notebook would be a portal, because it was such a dark time in my life, and it's literally just like all my thoughts like scribbled out, all of them. So, and then Poseidon presented me the two sirens on a big plate. Their bodies were severed from their heads, and he was like, he like bowed and like presented them before me, like, they're not gonna bother you again. Because I was literally, you guys, I cried so much today. That was the worst dream I've had in such a freaking long time. And I literally laid in bed all day because I was so emotionally drained from it. And when I laid in bed, that fear came over my body of like, if I lay in bed and fall asleep, am I going to go back to that realm and never come out? Like, I just kept thinking they were trying to put me in like a coma or something so that I could never be free. And then it makes me wonder about people in comas and like, what if their souls are trafficked? Like in Insidious, remember in Insidious, the little boy astral travels too far from his body and then he gets stuck in this like hellscape. Like that movie, I watched that movie with Doobie and my friends from college. I've never been scared of a movie the way I was scared of that movie. I was so scared of the concept of astral traveling so far that you end up in a demonic realm that every time I started to fall asleep that night after the movie, because we all stayed at Doobie's house and we literally all slept in one room because we were all scared. Every time I would start to fall asleep, my body would wake, like my trauma response would wake me up because that movie scared me so much. But it's because throughout my life, I've been dragged into these hellscapes and into these nightmare realms where they are just freaking trafficking people. And a lot of the time when I'm there, I'm saving people. But this time, it was like I needed to be saved. Woohoo! So that is what happened freaking there. And yeah, I guess I'll look at the chat now after all that. Hey, Bloody, I will pray for you tonight and send protective, positive energy to you. Thank you. Hey, Cassie, Insidious is the movie. And it's honestly probably not as scary now because that was, like, scary to me when I was 18 and I'm 32 now. So that was literally 14 years ago. So, like, the imagery and everything, it was probably cutting edge for, like, 14 years ago. But now we're also, like, we're also desensitized, not just from movies, but from freaking real life and all the wars and all the death and everything. That I haven't watched it since then. It might be kind of corny now, but at the time, just know that that was like freaking cutting edge technology and it was scary as hell. Except for there was one part when the devil literally had hooves and he was listening to Tiptoe Through the Window by freaking Tiny Tim. And he goes to run and his hooves just go doof doof. And I was like, oh, okay, now I'm not scared anymore. Just the combination of, like, the hooves and the Tiny Tim, it made me like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be scared of this? But the face, there's, like, a part where, like, this really demonic, disembodied head just, like, floats above this psychic lady's shoulder, and it's just, like, really evil looking, and it's just, like, a flash of it, and that is what, like, kept me from falling asleep. 17 people, 17 likes. Thank you, guys. 17, 17, 7, 7, like the Sophia Dragon tribe. A couple nights ago, I had a dream that my sister was in a psych ward, and there was a patient talking to her at her door, and her face and her hair was the same way you explain. Oh, my God. Ugh, I just got chills. Poseidon, the god of the sea. Yes. Which I know, but Poseidon owes me because I'm like a daughter of Medusa. So he freaking owes me. And that's a long story. That's because of Lizzie. That's because Lizzie is like very connected to Poseidon, and so he made a lot of same way that Zeus offered to help me for years before I accepted his offer for help, because I just didn't trust him with his track record. And so Zeus had to prove to me for literally like 3 years that he was a changed spirit before I worked with him. It's kind of the same thing with Poseidon. So, and of course he would have access to the sirens, right? This is crazy. I've been having very real feeling nightmares, especially with loved ones turning on me, right? Which is what I went through in that purgatory where I was stuck in that loop. They must be planning something big that we have to be blind for it to work. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. And the thing is, like, I'm so freaking tired of, like, foiling their plans. And I've just been trying to mind my business. And I really just wanted to be in my feminine energy for the Lent portal and just, like, really nurture myself with, like, Mother Mary. And it's like they really just kicked me straight in the dick to start it off. So you're going to consider becoming a Christian now? No, because I think the God of the Bible, everything I just said, I think that's the false God. I always do everything I do in Christ consciousness. I've never taken Christ consciousness, Christ, or Jesus out of anything I've ever done. If you listen to my prayer in the beginning, I literally call on Yeshua. Like, Yeshua has been my guide for a long ass time, and I've never wavered from that. But I'm certainly not gonna go fucking sit in a church and worship a false god either. And the last time I tried to join a church, my pastor did exactly what freaking pastors do, and he was perverted with me. During prayer, everyone's eyes were shut, and everyone was praying, and I was praying to Big Jesus, because sometimes Jesus comes through. Oh yeah, Big Jesus went down in the city. You know how, like, there's that big Jesus in Brazil, I think? Sometimes I see really big Jesus, and he's, like, bigger than the earth. And he, like Jesus is, like, a giant. Like, I asked him to go to the border, the Mexican-American border, when I was seeing condoms and baby clothes all over the border. And so I just cried my eyes out and then asked Jesus to go down there, and he's been down there for the last couple of years. Down in the city where they had like opened that negative portal, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I was back to my church. I was praying with Big Jesus, looking down on the earth, like he holds me in his hand and I'm all small, and then I like send a bunch of light to the planet and we're like happy in space. And I was doing that, and then my freaking pastor came over, put his arm around my shoulder, got like this close to my face where I could literally feel his spit on my face. He started swirling his finger on my knee like this, and he said, "Hi, Nikki, I'm just wondering if you've given your heart to Jesus yet." And this is while everybody's eyes are shut and everyone's praying. And so no one's like looking, and his wife is literally praying with her eyes shut, and he keeps looking back over his shoulder at his wife like he knew what he was doing was wrong. And I was like, I don't really know what that means. And then he's like swirling his finger on my knee, talking about Eve and original sin and this and that, and like whispering, and his spit is getting all on me. And I just remember thinking, like, being frozen, because I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and sometimes you just freeze, man. Like, sometimes you just freeze, and then you're also having this cognitive dissonance, because you're like, this is the pastor. The pastor wouldn't do that, right? He's a man of God. And then you have to wake up, and what woke me up was I could see my, like, Pleiadian guide and some other alien guides in front of me, and they looked really mad and very upset. And then I just heard this voice in my head say, "Nikki, if you need to figure out if this is right or wrong, I want to ask you, how would your father feel about a man his age?" Because my dad went to school with him. And he said, "How would your father feel about a man his age touching you and getting this close to you? How do you think your dad would feel?" And I thought to myself, my dad would be pissed. My dad would say, "Get your hands off my daughter." And that's when I realized it was wrong. And when I confronted him, they used my trauma against me, and they said, "Oh, you're just perceiving it like that because of your past. I touch all the women in the congregation like that." Okay, well, I don't think it's right for you to touch any of them like that unless it's your freaking wife who's also in the congregation. So, no, I'm not a Christian. My dad put it like this. He said, because I was like, oh, blah, 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 like, we're not Christians, and we were on a hike, and my dad said, no, Nikki, we are Christians. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, we're Christians because we do the right thing. We're Christians because we're nice people. We're Christians because, you know, we protect children. We're Christians because we have good morals. You don't have to be a part of a church or buying into a cult or buying into an organized religion to be a freaking Christian, to be in Christ consciousness. So no, I am not going to be a freaking Christian and go sit in those perverted churches. And I know not all churches are perverted, but they have a pretty bad track record. But I've never taken Christ out of the work that I do. And like I said, I'm doing an entire Lent masterclass talking about Christ consciousness through ascended masters in the divine feminine frequency. That's the other thing about the church. It completely represses the divine feminine. Completely represses and rejects women. No, I will not be joining a church. I'm joining the Church of Dutch. And everyone who says, oh, you run a cult, eat that, suck on that, the Church of Dutch. But I've never taken Christ out of my work. I've always worked with him, and I always will. But like I said in the beginning, sometimes in those realms, I think Jesus is the only thing. That's why people say, oh, Christ is king, because when you are in a place, like I said, that the Native Americans literally talk about, there are places so dark that your soul will get trafficked and even God can't hear you. I think Jesus is the only one that can hear you. And that's why when I started screaming out and singing to Jesus, that's why the crossroads spirits that could then help me. And that's why the ocean spirits could then help me, because Jesus was my baseline that got those fucking things off of me. Is everybody... Hey, Ani, I was just thinking about you. You're a high-value target now. Yeah. NPC... Hi, Jade Bomb. It's nice to see you. I think you're astrally traveling to fight them. Yeah, but they freaking got me. NPCs, bots, people that are asleep and not spiritually awake, on autopilot, people that aren't the main characters, literally. I'm dead crying because I'm so empathic. So glad you are awake and safe and sound. Thank you. It was horrible. I spent all day crying. I'm really trying to keep it together because I'm really just trying to get the message out. It was a nightmare. I was wondering if you've seen the Eyes Wide Shut, and the cloaks reminded me of it. It was exactly like that, and you want to know something really fucked up? Stanley Kubrick's cat looks exactly like Cornica. I was watching Eyes Wide Shut, and I fucking saw a big-ass painting of Cornica. Basically Cornica. Look it up. Look up cat painting from Eyes Wide Shut. It's Cornica. The triangle and everything. And I looked at her. This is when she was still alive, and I was like, what are you doing in Eyes Wide Shut, Corn? What? And apparently he had a cat that looked exactly like her. Her name was like Penny or something like that. Tiptoe through the window. Yes. A couple of months ago, I was in a deep sleep and I woke up and there was 4 demons around my bed. I started screaming and I kept saying no, and I felt like they were sucking my soul out of my body. What the hell? Hey, Katie. Been having nightmares every single night, especially about my husband. Dude. And that's what it felt like. It felt like these things wanted me to feel so alone and feel like my loved ones hated me and like didn't want me here. My point is, Poseidon is a mythical made-up god, not real. Maybe Jesus isn't either. No offense. The beliefs risk being very delusional, Duchess. Well, you're allowed to have your opinions, but you've been on this channel for years, and I work with the gods, I work with the goddesses, I work with the spirits. I really wouldn't expect something like that from you, because I've been this way since day one. But Archangel Michael with the siren, oh, but that's just delusional, right? just kidding. But that's fine. If you want to freaking think I'm delusional, fine. I know what I just went through. And the people who work with me and who have experienced the power of what we're doing, either individually through readings or spell work or through group work, they know it's real. So, and I'm at a point. Hey, Kenna, I hope you're feeling better. I'm at a point where I don't feel like I need to explain myself to anybody. You either get me or you don't. And I hear cancers are in their villain era. Good luck to everybody. Don't know what they worship in some churches, but it's not always benevolent. That's for sure. Absolutely. How do you know it's actually Zeus or demonic entities? Because I've been doing this since I was 18. And like I said, I took 3 years to analyze his spirit before I allowed him to work with me. And he has helped me so much over the last year. He has protected me so much. He has helped me with my boundaries. He's helped me to take no shit. And he's protected me from a lot of really bad situations. So that's how I know. But if you don't have discernment, then you're right. It is easy. Say you've never worked with a spirit before, and then this demonic entity just comes in as a mimic. Like I was saying, they mimic, right? So it's like you have to have discernment. But I've been doing this for the last 14 years. Just like how I just did the Ouija board reading, and literally in the beginning I give a whole disclaimer, and I'm like, don't do this. I'm doing this because I'm a professional. Yes, the Church of Dutch. Yeah, the natives talk of places in nature, SWs, and demonic entities. Exactly. Very understandable, girl. I only heard part of your dream, and it sounded so soul-crushing. It was extremely soul-crushing. Energy is the most valuable currency. Lower vibrational entities will always try to drain you. Exactly. Well, it helps to explain so people can understand. Sorry to offend you. I'm not a hater. Hope you still make pick a cards. Yes, I am. I'm still gonna make pick. Everybody thinks I'm like. That's why at the beginning I said this is the kind of experience that makes people go full Jesus, and then they end up in an organized religion or a cult. Like when I had my very, very soul crushing, bad mushroom trip that almost killed me, I accidentally joined that cult that I just explained to you because I was in an extremely vulnerable state. And then I came out of it. And if you watch my videos from that time, I'm talking like I'm going to church. It's very strange to see myself in such a vulnerable energy and speaking like a freaking churchgoer, because that's just not who I am. That's a weird thing about kind of growing up on the internet, because this is year 5 or 6, and so it's like you make mistakes, or you like go through these really extreme things that people want answers to and they want you to talk about, but it's like sometimes you just don't want to talk about it with the public, especially with the way people online can speak to you sometimes because you're not there face to face, so then they say really crazy or terrible shit, i.e. Saint Teresa Taylor. But yeah, that's kind of the weird thing, is because like you make mistakes or you trust entities that you thought was a spirit that was like a good spirit, but it was actually a demon. Like I did that with a Legua. A fucking demonic entity tricked me into thinking I was working with a Legua. I haven't talked about it because it was a very traumatizing experience, but that statue that you see in the background of my old readings, that was like a demon. That was a demon that came off my demonic ex that then followed me into this part of my life, and I had to do a lot of that. Demon tried to kill me through the bad mushroom trip, so, and it asked me to create it in its image, and that's why it wasn't quite right. That's why like the statue didn't quite look like an Elegua statue, because I created this demonic thing in its image and it told me how to create it, and I made some really big mistakes. I've made huge mistakes with Ouija boards, as I talked about in that reading. When I was in college, we literally handmade a Ouija board and then lost it at an abandoned insane asylum where they used to put the inhabitants in cages. So that was a big old freaking mistake. I made the mistake with that demonic entity and had to have that removed off of me, and it almost killed me twice. I made the mistake of doing a St. Patrick's Day thing for St. Patrick, only to realize that he's the one that ran all the pagans and fairies and mythical creatures and everything out of Ireland. So it's like, that's the weird thing about being a spiritualist online, is like, people are like waiting for you to fuck up so that they can tell you how much they hate you. And then also too, like, you're growing up and you're learning too. Like, there is no fucking playbook for this shit. There's no fucking psychic college. There is no mystery schools nowadays. If you want a mystery school, you gotta fucking make it, which is what I'm doing with the Lent portal. So that's like the weird thing, not only about growing up online, because how much have I fucking changed over the last 6 years, especially since 2020. It's felt like fucking 20 years. But also you're like teaching yourself something that is actively suppressed by society, so you're gonna make mistakes. Trigger warning. My dream was about 2 guys getting me and a girl to have XEX with them and then saying a prayer before pointing a GUN at her head and SHOOTING her, then chasing me. This is why I'm saying, like, these, I don't think these are dreams. I think they're trying to traffic our souls. Thank you, Dutch. I am feeling better, not as sore or sleepy, finally getting my energy back. Good. I am thankful for you and the work you do, Dutch. It's not easy being a psychic and being such a talented light worker. Thank you. And it feels like they've just been trying to kill me. They've genuinely been trying to kill me since day one. I've never told the story of my birth, but I literally me and my mom got spiritually attacked in my birth, and they tried to kill me and my mom. And I actually did die. And they had to start my heart again. And that's why I'm so psychic. And when I get my palm read, the palm readers say, oh my God, you've seen the other side. You died. Like, it's literally on my palm. And that's why I'm so psychic, because they've been trying to kill me. Dude, they were trying to kill me before I was even born. My mother's first doctor told her she needed to get an abortion with me, and then tried to corner her in the room and was saying, like, you can't leave until, like, because you need to abort this baby. This baby's going to kill you. And then she screamed and was like, get away from me, and got a second opinion, and the doctor was like, no, we can do this. It'll be a high-risk pregnancy, but we can do this. And that's the doctor who he started my heart again and got my mom the medical care she needed to survive that as well. So it sucks. It sucks when they're literally constantly trying to kill you, and everybody just thinks you're crazy, and everybody tells you, oh, you're just mentally ill. Oh, none of this is real. Blah, 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 blah. I can't fucking take it anymore. I can't defend myself anymore. I just don't give a fuck. It's been my reality since day one, and I'm tired of pretending like it's not, or tired of trying to explain to people why it is, you know? And like I said, nobody has to believe me. You don't have to believe me. I believe me. My clients believe me. The people I literally got a comment one time that was like, somebody did a group's ancestral healing, and then their, like, relative was negative for cancer right after the spell. Like, I help people all the time. I don't even understand how. If you ask me, how'd you do that, Duchess? I don't fucking know. I just do. And I do it with my spirits. I'm not taking all the credit. I do it with God. I do it with my spirits. And that's why I say God as you perceive God, because at the end of the day, I think there's one benevolent, unconditionally loving source. And that's why I say whatever the hell is in the Bible that's like, I'm going to kill your children in front of you and burn your house down, isn't the same benevolently loving source that most religions or spirituality are connecting to in one way or another. I am thankful for you, and oh wait, I already read that. Especially at times like now. Thank you. I was forced in this guy's lap, and I looked at him and said, you won't get away with this, and ran away. See, and like that was like what saved me from those situations, was like, oh my God, you guys, I totally forgot about a different part. Trigger warning. After I was saying no, 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 and like it wasn't coming out of my mouth, and then it finally started coming out, like, no, I do not consent, when I was in the shower that they had me in, it put me over this woman with like gray hair, and she was probably like middle-aged, and she was being brutally, SEXUAL, assaulted. and they put me in the perspective of the abuser. So I had this like aerial view as if I was like in the body of the abuser while this woman was being abused, and I was just like scream crying like no, no, and like that was how they were punishing me when I was saying like I do not consent. But before I started calling on Jesus, the only thing that was getting me out of there was saying no, I do not consent. And I actually recorded this video right before I got sick about how I do not consent are the most is the most powerful sentence you can use in this universe. And I haven't posted it yet, so I haven't had time to like edit everything. So I've been catching up on my work since I got sick. And that's the other thing. I feel like they just want to keep me in a perpetual state of sickness and misery because I had to be in bed all day today because of what I went through in the astral. So it's like I'm very tired. I'm tired of it. Lord, Saint Teresa Taylor, that name sends a shiver down my spine, LMAO. No, for real. For real. I always make that joke now, like whenever I say something like slightly controversial, I'm like, don't tell Saint Teresa Taylor. She's blocked. So I just want to know who's preying on our souls like this, like never in the light of day, huh? Exactly, when our guard is down. I just think it's agents of evil. Agents of evil. I don't know if there's like one evil character like the Bible says, like the devil, or if evil is just a frequency that people embody or creatures embody. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm never taking mushrooms again. It's not for me. How do you know you are talking to demons when you're channeling? I know because how I said that dream felt so evil, and they were trying to force me to consent. None of the spirit, first of all, I say my prayer in the beginning where I say only entities of Christ consciousness. I say benevolent guides, guardians, ancestors, angels, star family, higher self, Yeshua, Baal, Ra, Yamaya, Kornika, and God source. So I cloak myself in all those spirits. And then none of the spirits or entities I've ever channeled in benevolence try to force me to do anything. They don't try to force me to do anything, and they don't try to take advantage of me, and they don't feel evil. Like, the thing is, sometimes like things will try to act like something they're not, right? Like, so they might like look like an angel, but it's like it gives you that shiver up your spine the same way Saint Teresa Taylor does, right? So it might look like an angel and be talking love and light, but you have this weird feeling in the back of your head. Or it does fucked up stuff. Like when I was working with that demon and I didn't know it, it was very rude. Like it was very rude to me. I don't work with, the same way I don't deal with rude people, I don't deal with rude spirits. So it was like, it would like demand food from me and like demand time and like just, it was very demanding. And even like one of my clients came to me recently, and apparently Lucifer was saying, oh, I'll work with you, but I don't actually care about you and I don't like you and like don't expect a lot from me, but I guess I'll work with you. And I was like, bitch, stay away from that asshole. What if someone came up to you and was like, hey, like, I'll be your friend, but like I won't care about you, and I'm not going to be a good friend. I'm actually going to be a bad friend, and I have all these demands, and I'm also going to talk shit about you and act like I'm better than you, but I guess I'll be your friend. You wouldn't be friends with that person. So it's about how it makes you feel, and like that dream is the closest I've come to pure evil in a really long time. Oh, man. Don't let what they say get to you, Dutchess. Just speak your truth. You will always have haters and people that don't believe, like Saint Teresa Taylor. Just kidding. Just express yourself and share your experiences. Thank you. That name is kind of just like the catch-all, like how I call them all Patricias. Like, they're all just kind of the same, right? It's like boring at this point. Like, the way they act is just boring. It's really predictable. And it's always the same arguments. Oh, you're a racist. Oh, you're a bigot. Oh, you're this. And it's like checking my watch. Like, okay, am I supposed to be upset about that? Because I know I'm not. If I was racist, I wouldn't have an array of clients from all over the world of all different races and all different backgrounds. If I was a bigot, I wouldn't fucking do Women and Children's Month. Like, you can't keep a good witch down. Thank you. Oh, wow. YouTube keeps muting your voice and the video is glitching. That's not surprising. My life goals and desires, I've said it a million times. I want my land so that I can have, like, the sickest festivals in the land and have the Airbnbs and have people come and have, like, an immersive experience for healings with me and get an outdoor bathtub and, like, beautiful gardens and have sick ass fucking high vibrational festivals with like actual high vibrational musical artists that are healing instead of like energy harvesting. Girl, I was wondering, do you know anyone who is as badass in the astral as you? Like, I don't follow that many spiritual people, so I was wondering if you know anyone else killing demons. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know anybody else other than, like, my clients and stuff, like, how we all do that together and we go into battle together. I know that Elizabeth April used to do it, but I'm finding that, like, her channel is, like, not as clear as it once was, in my opinion. Like, her channelings are kind of, like, hit or miss when they used to be really spot on. I don't know if that's her own personal stuff going on. I'm not faulting her for it. No one can be right all the time, but I'm just not resonating with a lot of her stuff as much anymore. I still think she's a great person, and I'm grateful to her for her, like, all that she's taught me. I just think she's missing the mark a lot of the time nowadays. But she used to do a lot of battles, but she doesn't anymore. Probably because she's a mom now, so she needs to, like, not put her child in jeopardy like that. Low power mode. I'm going to be having to get off of here soon. Patricia, yes. Oh my god, I almost forgot. I dreamed just before the fires that you and the coven came down to South Carolina looking for your land. Dude, I, like, want to move to one of the Carolinas, and they are just destroying them. It makes... Get this, guys. My sister and her husband moved to, what is it, Asheville? And then they moved right before the fucking hurricane. And then I was just sitting there, like, and I'm supposed to believe my family's not targeted? Like, they moved down there, and then they were like, oh, actually, we want to move somewhere else. And then they, like, moved a couple different times, and they ended up in the perfect spot where they didn't get hit by the hurricane. It's just crazy. But that makes sense. That makes sense. Y'all were down at this witchy tea shop, but the gathering got crashed by this insane dude acting violently. Sounds like an NPC, right? What the hell? I also want to plan a retreat down in Myrtle Beach, so that made me really upset that they're, like, burning down. I mean, I'd be upset either way, but it made me extra upset because, like, I have a whole retreat that I want to do eventually down there where we, like, go to the aquarium and we stay right on the beach and we go to the boardwalk on the beach and we go to the best reptile park in America, and, like, just, like, a bunch of fucking activating shit. And yeah, about to go to South Carolina on Wednesday. Yeah, be careful, girl. I live in Georgia. Wouldn't recommend the toxic South. I think it depends on where you are, because I think anywhere you go, I don't think it matters where you go. You're gonna have toxic people and you're gonna have positive people, and I ain't the one to be calling the South toxic as someone who's been getting fucking bent over a barrel in one of the highest taxes, most dictator fucking blue states other than California. Like, we did not fucking do 2 weeks to slow the spread. We did 2.5 years of being on house arrest. And the people here are not very nice, and the land is super old and super corrupt. There's a really bad trafficking up here across the tri-state area and all through New England. We're right next to New York. We're right next to Massachusetts. The only place more miserable than Connecticut is Massachusetts. More evil. Look at what happened with the Salem witch trials. That's why I do my fucking retreat there, because we literally have to heal the land. Like, those were some of the worst atrocities for no reason. Like, there's been, trust me, I understand there's been many atrocities, and we see that in the South, right, with like slavery and everything like that. Like, I fully comprehend and understand that, but at the same time, it's toxic as fuck here too, and it's what you make of it, you know. Wilmington, North Carolina beaches are so beautiful. Ooh, I'll have to check that out. Yes, I'm still not over Helene. They destroyed places that weren't conforming, in my opinion. I agree. I felt like that was a punishment. I went to Savannah recently. Spooky, but I loved it. Is that also in Carolina? I gotta go, guys. I gotta go. But thanks for joining me. I'm just gonna go up a little bit and look at these top comments. I had the SEX trafficking dream too, and they were bringing girls to rooms to, you know, RAPE us, and it was terrible. And there was a woman too, like, who started the whole thing, like a Ms. Lean Jackswell. I had to switch the letters because, you know, they don't like it. Oh my God, in the whole 6 years, first time I saw you go live. You were my first tarot reading, and I got into it because of you. Love and light to you. Thank you, Tanvi. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad I scrolled up. Hey, Taylor. Girl, I had a dream of an incubus demon the past couple nights. See, this is not a coincidence. This is exactly why I came live. Hi, everyone. Nightmares happen to me when I'm very tired and sick. All right, I think I read pretty much all the comments, but I'm going to get going, guys. Thanks for sharing, Dutch. Love you. If you need to do a protective meditation, we got your back. Thank you, guys. Maybe I will do that. Wilmington beaches, the waters are blue and clean, and the sand is clean, too. I'll have to check it out. I hope you feel better soon, Dutch. Thank you. I already feel better just from resting today and, you know, sharing the story. But thank you to my moderators very much. Thank you to everyone who came and shared your comments. And I love you guys. I appreciate you. If it weren't for you, I would feel very alone, which I think is what they want us to feel. They want us to feel alone. They want us to feel crazy. Like I said, Lizzie, with your cute little emojis. And Baby Pico! I haven't got to say that in forever. I'm so glad you made it. But I highly, highly suggest watching The Matrix Resurrections. It was made in 2021. It is really powerful. It's really activating, and they literally have Neo thinking that he's mentally ill, and they keep just feeding him blue pills to keep him from, you know, realizing that he's cracked the Matrix before. So if that interests you, if you want to see a new twist, and obviously some of it's pretty corny, right? Some of it's corny as hell because it is a newer version, but ultimately it was jarring, activating, shocking, horrifying, but enlightening to see it through the lens of the modern day opposed to the original Matrix. So I highly recommend it, The Matrix Resurrections. And yeah, I'll see you guys eventually. All right, I love ya. Bye.